My loves, this is episode 144, and it's all about leadership, what it is, what it isn't. I remember coming across the concept of servant leadership, quiet leadership, and it actually kind of scrambled my brain. I thought, aren't leaders loud, colorful, vivacious, dynamic, and out in front? Aren't those some of the key characteristics of being effectual? And the answer is not always. So this is a discussion about how unchecked ego can look like shiny, effectual leadership, but is actually destructive and derailing teams from vision. And how heart-centered leadership, which is really about being proactive with your woundedness so you don't bring your messiness to the table and you aren't projecting all of your unhealed stuff onto your team. Your team does not exist to make you feel like a better leader. I also talk a bit about the fact that being a leader isn't about being popular. It's really about having the courage to be visionary. And you can only have the courage to see into a more ideal future when you have worked on your stuff. Please consider now or at the end of this episode forwarding this to your team, your co-parents, and any elected officials, because really this is about how to be more generous and how we govern in all areas of our life. And I am so glad that you are here. So let's talk about the ego as a foe, a false leader. Lots of people in society-sanctioned leadership roles in politics, business, educators, moms and dads, coaches, mayors, social media, quote-unquote, influencers. But they're not necessarily governing from higher consciousness, even though they are in society-sanctioned leadership roles. What we often have is a masquerade of wisdom or knowledge. And this acting like a leader, it can happen from lots of people, from a sweet, traditional mother, just playing the part of a parent, or more obviously, it can come from an overbearing CEO. It doesn't really matter. The divisive ego has many faces. And I think at some stage in our growth, we have all likely worn the leadership mask. You know, we've been faking it till we be making it. Fear-based leadership leverages the dynamics of the ego to dominate and to manipulate. But here's the thing. It's not necessarily malicious, but it is out of alignment with the heart. And the ego can only dictate. It can only give orders. It only wants to control. The ego cannot unify. The ego does not transmit higher love. Because if it did transmit higher love, it would dissolve. You know, once we become more unified with other people, more inclusive of our own nature and everybody else, the ego just starts to melt under the rays of love, you know. So with egocentric leadership, there's no real radiance happening there. Ego leadership versus soul leadership, I've come up with a very handy metaphor for you. It's the difference between shining fluorescent lights on a garden versus natural sunlight. It's like there's no comparison. Tomatoes are going to grow under the light bulbs, but the crop, this is actually scientifically proven, by the way, crops growing under fluorescent lights are not going to be as nutrient dense as crops that are grown outdoors, nourished by the sun's rays. You think about it just with your own body. There's no comparison to being in a well-lit room versus basking in the golden sun. So for you as a leader, do you want to be a megawatt light bulb, or do you want to be like the sun? Do you want to be ego gripped or soul infused? Forceful or magnetic? We're all here for the same reason. To lead from the heart. To lead like the sun. Here's how it works. First, you have to prepare for radiance. So when we align with our soul, when we live heart-centered lives, what happens? Purification happens. Purification will naturally take place when we are living from the heart. We step into the heart space. What's living in the heart space? The virtues of love and compassion. And when we're there, we are quite literally, esoterically speaking, we are stepping into the light of our higher soul. So when we're living from the heart, the light of our soul will effortlessly pour through our energy bodies, cleansing, purifying, refining us. That soul light pouring into us rinses all that dark, dense stuff away, the grievances, the illusions around lack of worth, pettiness, pity, self-pity. All that is built up in our subconscious. Everything that's settled in there gets rinsed away when we live from the heart, which allows the soul light to pour through. So we stay steady in the heart area, in the heart chakra, and then we can slowly, sometimes but surely, move away from self-centered living. Heart-centered living is the opposite of self-centered living. Heart-centered living is the energy of the heart chakra of love. Self-centered living is the energy that can build up in the solar plexus in the third chakra. So the certainty can come with slowness, is that heart-centered living leads to more radiant, luminous outpouring of generosity. And this is one of the core qualities of leadership. So how do you become a better leader? You intentionally cleanse. It's what we're doing now. We're doing inner child work, stepping up to reparent our deep sensitivity. Our inner child is a gorgeous form of self-leadership, of self-governance. And that's what qualifies us to lead other people. We heal our wounds. And when we do that, more light of consciousness flows into us and through us, and we lead from a higher vibration, which is really the only place one can truly lead from. Everything else is just varying degrees of coercion and posturing. Here's the brilliant news. The greater the healing of our inner child wounds, the greater our capacity to exude those heart-centered powers that are part of leadership. Real leaders have loved themselves into wholeness. They parent themselves. They govern themselves. And then they have the capacity to see and hold space for the wholeness in others. A heart-centered leader cares for everyone in their domain. This is soul leadership. Soul leadership is like the sun shining, ever present, ever radiating, without judgment. Simply living, breathing, and emanating from the cosmic heart space. So when we put our attention on the heart chakra, maybe you can just close your eyes right now and just breathe into your heart. It can be that simple. Just put your attention onto the heart chakra. You know what you're doing? You are accessing an endless reservoir of divine love, divine light, and divine power. So as long as we're connected and living from our heart center, you're going to like this one. There's no exhaustion in daily leadership. If we are coming from love, there's no exhaustion in how we lead. And I have lots of ways I could refine myself in terms of leadership, but I do experience this phenomenon within myself where when I'm in my heart, when I'm doing my work for all the right reasons, it's a joy to lead. And with that joy, I am never short on caring attention. I'm never short on engaged listening or expanding on a vision When I am in my heart, I have energy to spare. I am overflowing because love is the fuel and work is the vehicle. You tap into the heart space. You are tapping into vital energy. So this doesn't mean that you plow on and that you move into overdrive all the time. Part of love and leadership is knowing when it's time to restore and time to rejuvenate. But when you are in heart-centered leadership, when you are coming from the light of your soul, you've got the clarity of mind to see when it's time to restore, when it's time to push, when it's time to rise, when it's time to retreat. It's about pacing ourselves for optimal creativity. But we never, ever, ever need to step out of the heart space for any reason whatsoever. Not for policy or status quo or because it's business. The heart is home base. The heart is the power center. The heart is the only true leader. I love preaching like this. Let's talk about the heavy stuff. If we're living and behaving outside of the heart, from the subconscious, and keep in mind, what's in the subconscious? Our unhealed woundedness. What happens when we're in our unhealed woundedness? We become self-centered. So the subconscious is where you've got that self-centered me, myself, and I, which again, energetically is housed in the solar plexus chakra, the third chakra. When you're coming from there, when you're trying to lead from that place, highly likely you're going to experience really deep exhaustion. When we lead from self-centeredness, suffering within ourselves and from others is going to show up to be resolved. All right, let's get back to the light. More light. Discerning vision. Discernment it's a skill of one's higher mental energy. I like to think of it as thinking with my soul. So when we're truly higher minded, what happens is that we activate our heart space. I love how this works. This is synergy. It's gorgeous. When we are higher minded, we activate our hearts. Soul perspective points us to love. And with love, we can have sympathy and empathy for ourselves and everyone in our environment and the environment itself, Mother Earth. So discernment is not so much a honing in, a narrowing in on perspective. It's actually an expansion, kind of flipping this inside out for us. Discernment is about seeing everything at play. Discernment, real discernment, is about a 360-degree perspective. It's really more of like a holographic perspective. Discernment is about having the point of view of the soul. And when we see through our soul, we can observe all of the energies and the forces at play. We can see each other. People are just energies and forces at play. This is what it means to truly lead. You see everyone clearly. You see their strengths and their weaknesses, their expansiveness and their contracted behavior. You are aware. You're observant. You are discerning. And everyone gets the benefit of your love and your leadership. You serve the whole team, the whole family, your entire constituency with your virtue-directed guidance. So the invitation is to step into the heart and lead. You lead everyone. You lead everyone with love. Here's to more loving, wide-awake leadership when the world needs it more than ever, and I think our need for heart-centered leadership is only going to increase. If you are inspired, it really helps us with the algorithm, with spreading light, raising consciousness. If you actually subscribe to this podcast so that you get notifications, and if you could take probably less than 90 seconds and wherever you're listening to this, go leave a review. You can just hit the 4-star, the 5-star, leave 1 or 2 sentences and know that that is your contribution to a heart-centered world. I will be here for you till the end of time, but more specifically, next week. I'm so glad you're here. With love, Danielle. Thank you so much for listening, for feeling, for spreading the word. With love.